Okay, let's start with the question one and see can make some progress from here. So the question indicates that the today's settlement price on Chicago Mercantile Exchange Euro futures contract is $1.3140 per euro. You have a short position in one contract, and your performance bond account currently has a balance of $1,700. The next 3 days settlement prices are given as 1.3126, 131.33, and 130.49. The question asks us to calculate the changes in the performance bond account from daily marking to market and the balance of performance bond account after the third day. So although the question is short, is loaded with information. There are a few concepts here that we should be familiar with in order to be able to answer the question. So the first one is the concept of settlement price. So the concept of settlement price. Settlement price is, as I mentioned you, at the end, it is the price that is determined for each contract at the end of the trading day by the exchange based on a preset rule. As I mentioned earlier, that preset rule could be the weighted average, volume weighted average of the price during a particular time frame. So the exchange calculates the average price, and at the end of the trading date determines what that average price is going to be, and it is declared as the settlement price. So the last contract settlement price was 1.3140. So this was the last one. We have a short position. Short position implies that we actually are the seller of the contract. So we are the seller of a euro contract. Another important concept in here is the performance bond account. In futures contracts, all traders, whether they are buyers or sellers, will have to deposit a collateral in order to be able to trade the contract. So in this particular case, in our exchange account, we have $1,700 collateral. It is our own money, but as day goes by, if our contract loses value, money is going to be taken out automatically from this account. Or if we make money in the contract, money is going to be deposited into this account as it is taken account. It's taken out of the account. So this brings us to another issue in here, is that a futures contract is settled on a daily basis. And after each settlement, contract is assigned a new price. For instance, that particular day, at the end of the day, after the settlement price of 131.40 was determined, the exchange goes through all the contracts, and depending on the starting prices on the contracts, they settle each account. For instance, if your contract price going into that particular day was lower than 131.40, since contract price went up, as a short contract owner or as a seller of the futures contract, you would lose money, and some money is going to be taken out of your account. If the price was higher than 131.40, as a short contract owner or as a seller of the contract, you would make some money, and some money would be deposited into your account. And as a result of that settlement, you have a balance of $1,700 in your account. So let's go to the next day. Next day, price turns out to 131.26. 131.26 is less than 131.40. Since we are a contract seller, declining the contract price will create a gain for us. And actually, if you look at this formula in here, this is how we can calculate the gain or loss in the contract. So the first day, the contract price is 131.26. The last contract price was 131.40, so we're going to write down the FT minus 1 in this case, the contract price, and then we will multiply that with the number of units in the contract, which is 125,000. That would give us a gain of $175. So actually, we could just quickly do that. So we will say minus 1.3126 minus 1.3140 times 125,000. That would give us a $175 of a gain for the first day. So we will have $175 coming into our account, and our account balance is going to be $1,875 after the first day. Going into the next day, the contract price now increases. So this increase will lead to some loss. In this particular case is $87.50. So we could still calculate the same way. 131.33 minus 131.26 times 125,000 is 87.50. So that amount is going to be taken out from our account, which is going to bring our balance to 1,787.50. And the third day, contract price dips substantially. So there's quite a bit drop in the price, which is good for the seller. Seller is going to make quite a bit money in here. So if you calculate the 1 day drop in here, it is $1,050. So that would add $1,050 into our balance, and it will bring our balance to $2,837.50. So over the course of this 4 days, starting from day 0 to all the way at to the end of the day 3, our contract in cumulative terms made $1,137.50. So if you add up this column altogether, that adds up to $1,137.50. So this is the total of this column. So this is the aggregate gain in the contract. And we can calculate that by simply looking at the initial contract, final contract price, which is 130.49, minus the T minus 3, which is the day 0 price, which is 131.40, as you see in here. We can get the total cumulative gain or loss in our contract during this 3-day period. So the margin balance in this particular case is going to be at the end of the 3rd trading day, it's going to be $2,837.50. So this concludes this problem. We answered the problem in here. There are a few important things that we need to pay attention to in here. Cumulative gain or loss for someone who has a short position can be calculated by using this formula in here, minus sign at the outside of the parenthesis, the last contract price minus the first contract price, which is the day zero price in here, times number of units in the contract. That gives us the cumulative gain. If you want to do this on a day-by-day basis, we will have to go with 1 day at a time. So 131.26 minus 131.30 here times 125, which will give us 175. For day 2, we are going to do 131.33 minus 131.26 times 125,000, which produces a negative value 87.50. And finally, the last one is going to produce 1,050. But if we want to do the cumulative calculation, we could just use this formula, FT minus FT3 minus 3 times 125,000, which gives us the gain during this period. This is the first problem. Let's erase these markings in here, and we will move on to the second problem. So the second question is very similar. In this case, we have all the same parameters in the problem. The only thing that is different now, we have a long position in the contract. So when we have a long position in the contract, daily gains and losses can be calculated by using this formula. I'm going to type it in here. F, let's say T minus F T minus N. N is the number of days before the contract. For instance, if T is day 3, N is day 0, it should be 3 minus 3, which is going to be 0. Times, in this particular case, again, 125,000. So the only difference between this and the previous example is that there is not a minus sign in front of the parentheses in here because we are long on the contract. So this is the cumulative gain or loss over a 10-day period. For the long contract. The long contract cumulative gain or loss can be given as, or is given as, FT minus N times 125,000. We can actually just show this in here for one day gain loss. Can be calculated simply by using here 132.26 So 131.26 minus 131.40 times 125,000, which is equal to minus $175, because in this case, since the contract price declined, long party loses money, and the loss is equal to 175. Second day gain loss would be $131.33 minus 131.26. In this case, contract price went up, which is going to end up with a gain. In this case, it is $87.50 of gain. Third day, gain or loss is going to be equal to 130.49. As you see, price declines substantially. Long party is going to lose a lot of money in this case. 131.33 times 125,000. This will lead to a loss of $1,050. So the cumulative loss is again $1,137.50, which we can calculate simply by using the formula that I wrote at the top. Let's copy this in here. So in that case, is going to be 130.49, which is the last contract price, minus 3 days prior, which is 1.3140 times 125,000, which is equal to $1,137.50 loss. So over the 3-day period, the contract loses $137.50, and since we started with $1,700, after this is lost, what is left is $562.50. So margin account is going to go down to $562.50. Okay. So this shows what happens when we have a long contract. In the case of a long contract, the gain or loss can be calculated by FT minus F0 or FT minus N, assuming N prior days to the last day. And the loss in this case is $1,137.50. So this was a simple example, similar to the previous case. So maybe we could just quickly see if we can get rid of this one. Okay, I'll use the eraser. But I would like to summarize a few things in here. This question covered the concept of settlement price, daily settlement. So in each of these cases, we had a daily settlement which created these daily cash inflows or outflows. So daily settlement. And as a result of daily settlement, we had daily cash inflows or outflows. And that affected our performance bond, margin account, or performance bond. this is, as we indicated earlier, each contract trader will have to post this collateral in order to be able to trade. So the gain or loss for a, let's say, long contract, gain or loss is given as F T, which is the last contract price, minus F T minus N, N days prior contract. In this case, if you are doing a daily gain or loss, it should be then T minus 1, right? On a daily basis, it should be T minus 1 times contract size. For the short party, short contract gain or loss can be calculated by using minus F T minus F T minus N times contract size. So you can use these formulas to determine the gains and losses. N is the time frame. So if you want to calculate 1 day gain and loss, N is going to be 1. If you want to calculate, let's say, 3 days gain or loss, N has to be 3. And obviously this last price has to correspond to that particular day's settlement in order to calculate it correctly. So this is what we get out of this question. Just quite neat and easy to understand some of the basic concepts of futures contracts. So let's get rid of this and move on to question 3. So question 3 gives us this table where we have the futures prices. In this particular question, we are asked to determine the face value of open interest in September 2016 Swiss franc futures contract. So first, take a look at the Swiss franc contract. Swiss franc contract is composed of 125,000 Swiss francs. So there are 178 September contracts that are still open. So open interest in September Swiss franc contracts are 178. Since each contract has a contract value of $125,000, the face value of these 178 contracts amount to $22,250,000. Just to have an exercise, we could just calculate, let's say, the face value of the euro contracts. If you look at the euro contracts in here, September euro contracts has 5,793 open interest. So let's look at that. Each contract, again, is 125,000 euros. And there are 5,793 contracts in place. So if you do the math, we get 125,000 times 5,793. We have $724,125,000 of contracts. Actually, these are euros. So euro 724,125 is the face value of the contracts that are open for September for euro contract. Okay. So this is the concept of open interest and also calculating the face value of the contract. So there are contracts for a face value or notional principal of 724,125,000 as of that particular day. All right, now let's move on to our next question. So in this question, we are asked to check again the quotations in Exhibit 7.3. So the quotations in Exhibit 7.3 suggest that the Mexican peso contract, which is composed of 500,000 Mexican pesos, the June contract has opened at 0.5487. The settlement price for the contract is 0.5481. So dollar 0.5481 is the settlement price of the contract. So that suggests that the futures contract is predicting a price of 0.5481. It should be 81. I don't know why this is not corrected, but 0.5481. Let me see if other it's interesting. I thought that I corrected these, but that's okay. So we are going to use then price of 0.5487, and we believe that the spot price in September will be 0.6133 per Mexican pesos. The question is, what speculative position would you enter into to attempt to profit from your beliefs? And we are asked to calculate anticipated profits, assuming that we take the position in 3 contracts based on what we think. And then the third one says, what is the size of your profit if the futures price is indeed an unbiased predictor of the futures spot price and this price materializes? So let's go back to the gist of the problem in here. What speculative position would we enter if we see a contract price of 0.05487 today, and we think that in September the price is going to be 0.6133. So this means that actually I could purchase Mexican pesos at a price of 5.48 cents. So I can lock into a price of 0.05487 today, and wait until the contract expiration. And if really at that time, what I expect happens, that is, if the Mexican peso turns out to be 0.6133, I would take the delivery of Mexican pesos. So I will pay 0.05487 per Mexican peso, get Mexican pesos, go to the spot market, sell my pesos at 0.6133. So I can actually set up a speculation with the belief that the spot price of peso is going to be larger than what the futures price is suggesting. So I'm betting that the spot price is going to be above what the futures price is saying, and I take advantage of this by getting into a contract today, locking into a Mexican peso price of 0.05487 per Mexican peso in dollar terms, and then If the higher price materializes at the expiration, then I would make my money. So the speculative position is going to be to take a long position on 3 Mexican peso contracts and wait. So if I'm right, that is, if the spot price turns out to be 61.33, I'm going to buy the pesos at 0.05487 and sell it at 0.6133. The difference is my profit. So let's see how much we can generate. As we indicated first, we will take a long position in the contract to capitalize on the spot price if it really materializes as we anticipate. My speculation profit is going to be the spot price at that time minus the futures price, which is the price that I would pay for the Mexican peso. And then this is the spot price that I will sell the Mexican peso. In this case, there are 3 contracts. Each contract is 500,000 pesos. So essentially, I'm doing this for 1.5 million pesos. And if the prices pan out the way I expect, I will make $9,690 when the contract expires. So essentially, I will enter into the futures contract at the time that we see this opportunity. When the time comes, that is when the contract expires, I will pay the dollars, which is 82,305, to get 1.5 million pesos. And then I will take my 1.5 million pesos, sell it in the spot market at $0.06133. And I'm going to get $91,995. My net profit will be $9,690. This creates a sort of speculation profit of $9,690. Obviously, if the spot price turns out to be something lower, then I would lose money. So there's a chance that I can lose in this case. That's why we call it speculation. So we have an expectation of a higher spot price, and we are making a bet on that prospect. And if that bet, if our anticipated price pans out, we're going to generate a profit. But if something else happens, we're going to lose money. If the future price is an unbiased estimate of the future spot price, that means that actually future spot price is going to be exactly the same price as the futures price. In that case, I'm not going to be able to make any gains. So I will have zero gain in that particular case. There is a slightly different version of the question, which is the next question. In this case, the question is asking us what strategy would we adopt if we anticipate the price to be, spot price to be 0.04829 per Mexican pesos. So that means that actually the spot price is expected to be lower than the futures price. So in that case, I would sell Mexican pesos forward or futures with the hope that I can actually acquire Mexican pesos in the spot market at a lower price and deliver at a higher price. So in that case, I'm going to take a short position. I'm going to short the Mexican peso contract. And if what I expect happens, I'm going to take advantage of that particular situation. So in this particular case, I'm going to short the peso at 0.05487. So in that case, my profit is going to be just the opposite of what we did before. So I'm going to put a minus sign here because I'm shorting the contract. In this case, if the actual price materializes, I'm going to make $9,870 of speculation gain. So how this works is like this. I have an obligation to deliver 1.5 million Mexican pesos. So I go to the spot market, purchase the Mexican pesos in the spot market at 0.4829, 1.5 million pesos at 0.4829, pay 72,435, and go to my contract counterparty, deliver 1.5 million Mexican pesos at 0.487. I receive 82,215. That gives me a gain of $9,870. So if my anticipation is lower than the future spot price, then I'm going to take advantage of this by shorting the contract and taking advantage of higher futures price than anticipated future spot price.